Good morning and welcome to our coffee and conversation. And surprise, it is the test show today because our team, half of us are traveling, doing site visits, and the other half, well, Jessica is on vacation. So let's all wave to Jessica because this is being recorded and we'll tell her how much
Mhm.
we miss her and love her. And I probably look distracted because I've never hosted a meeting and I'm letting people in from the waiting room. So be patient. But I'm excited to say that we have a guest speaker this morning, Samantha Carvalho, and she is going to be updating us about the Office of Community Housing Development and the Rural Workforce Housing Initiative. And before we get started this morning, I know Renee has some updates for us. And very quickly, just wanted to see, I know we usually save good news for the end, as far as any good news from the week, any project updates, but just wanted to see if somebody, one or two people had something really cool and amazing just to start us off with this morning. Any just good news for your community. Tanya, I see you.
I will share a little bit of something. So we started something in May called Sweet Saturdays every second Saturday of the month, and we just hosted this past weekend. We had our first Touch a Truck event, and it was stupid crazy successful.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we had so many participants from our city and county and whatever, and just was really well received with the community. And I will say this, not to pat myself on the back by no means, but you guys know that we don't often get a thank you or even a notice of all the planning that we do and things that go on behind the scenes. But I will say I have gotten three very kind. One was published in the newspaper, and then two
Yay.
were emails sent to me and my city manager and the mayor about what a great event it was and how they were thankful for what we were doing in the community and all that. So, um, it's a pretty good feeling.
That is a good feeling, and you should pat yourself on the back.
I'm not very good at doing that, but that it was fun. It was about kicked my butt planning it all, but it was fun and the community enjoyed it, so it was a win.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
I'm so glad to hear that. Anybody else have anything really cool to share? Okay. Any birthdays? I mean, this is a party. Any new managers? Like, what's the good news? What can we do? Y'all are being quiet. Okay. Renee, I'm gonna go ahead and call on you for some updates, please, ma'am.
Well, I really don't have anything to talk about, especially not about a conference that's coming up in 4 days.
Woo!
Oh my gosh, I got a bunch of emails, so I'm going to make this quick. So, 4 days away from showtime. So excited. If you don't know, it's in Canton, Georgia. It's going to be an amazing time. I've already looked at the weather. It's going to be beautiful weather. It's going to stay, and then it's going to be amazing. So, hopefully, you've all registered. If you have not received, and Know Before You Go was emailed out to everyone on yesterday, it had some extra tips in there for you. And if you have not received it, visit the Georgia Downtown Association website. There is a link on there now, and you can click that and look at that. If you missed the pre-conference webinar, which also had some great information, there's also a link on the website, and I'll throw the website link in the chat. That'll take you directly to the page. You just have to scroll down a little bit, and those are right there, right under the conference information stuff. So if you still have silent auction items, if you haven't turned in auction form, still time. We have some awesome prizes that are going to be in the silent auction room this time. So you can still either email me the form by tomorrow, and then or just bring your form and the items to the conference. For all of our newbies, we have a silent auction every year at the conference. There will be a room. We have a specific room this time, and everything will be laid out. You can just walk around, look at the items, and then sign up for what you might be interested in bid increments. And then when you win, you just come check out at the end on the last day. But all of the 100% of those proceeds help you all. So we have the Edge Scholarship, which is something that the Georgia Downtown Association administers. And 100% of those dollars raised from that silent auction goes into this kitty. And we offer scholarships, $1,000 if you want to attend national conference. And Tanya, don't let me get this wrong, but I think it's $350 for in-state training. So $350 could have been wiped off of your attendance to our conference in Canton. So just keep that in mind for next year when you're signing up for any training in the state of Georgia. You can utilize that for that is pertaining to your job. And then if you want to go to national conference, $1,000 is a great help. And just a reminder, national is right in Alabama, so that $1,000 would pay for your registration as well as a little bit of extra things that you include in there. So it's up to the $1,000, but utilize those scholarships. We gave away $6,000 scholarships this year, and I want to say 2 in-state ones. So people are using it, and we're happy about that. So don't forget to bring your bidding dollars for the silent auction. And then T-shirt Tuesday. That's we started this last year. We're doing T-shirt Tuesday again. So be ready on Monday when you come to registration. We have registration on one side of the entrance, and swag sales are going to be on the other side. And you can buy your swag. You can get the whole swag pack, or you can just buy your T-shirt and be ready for Tuesday, because when we have our board meeting, we'll have lunch with the board meeting attached to it, and we'll do a fun picture again like we did last year. So that's happening. The mobile app has been fixed. So if you already downloaded the mobile app and we're having issues, please either close out and try to open it up again. And you must create an account in order to save things to your Outlook calendar or whatever calendar you use. But you can find that mobile app in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. You just search Georgia Downtown Association and download the app. And then for an up-to-date minute schedule, like I said, session descriptions, all that stuff is listed in there. And like I said, you have to create an account in order for things to be saved to your calendar. And it does work, because I've done it and several other people have tried. But if you have any problems, always email me, and then we helped however we can. Update. The first regional meetup for fall is kicking off in Valdosta on September 5th. So make sure you are registered so we can have a count for lunch. And I'll put all the links in the chat. And that's all from me, Tess.
Oh, that was perfect. Thank you, Renee. All good information. And a ton of people just joined from the waiting room. So just very quickly, again, recapping that this morning, it's just me. It's just Tess. And we have a really wonderful speaker, Samantha, to talk to us about the Office of Community Housing Development and the Rural Workforce Housing Initiative. So I am going to just pass it over to you and let you go ahead and jump in, Samantha. Oh, you are muted.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. We were having a little audio trouble earlier. So if I go in and out, please let me know. I'm very excited to share with you this great program, this brand new program. Some of you may have already seen some of this presentation before, because we did a round of presentations to different regions in May. So Jenna Webb from One Georgia Authority and I hosted these. Oh, can everyone see my screen okay? No, I'm not sharing it yet. You share this? Here you go. Share. Y'all see that okay?
We can now. I was muted myself, but I was like, yes, we can see you, but yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay, great. Hold on, let me just get my screen set up so I can see your chat. Please feel free to, while I'm going through this presentation, add your questions or comments or anything in the chat. We should have plenty of time. I don't plan on spending more than, I'm trying to figure out how to see the full screen for the Zoom call real quick. Okay, well, if somebody could man Zoom is not I usually use other platforms in Zoom, so I'm trying to figure out how to get myself here so I can see your chat screen, but somebody could just moderate the chat for me. Cass, if you don't mind, that would be really helpful. Okay, so this is, first of all, just real quick, so my name is Samantha Carvalho, and I am the Director of the Office of Community Housing Development, which is at DCA in the Housing Finance Division. And we are responsible for the federal low-income housing tax credit and the federal funds from HUD that we use to build affordable housing. And most of our financing is for people who are low income. And we do grants, we do loans, we work with developers directly. We also work with cities and counties, nonprofits, and public housing authorities. So if you and your team are involved in housing construction, please call us and let us know, what you're interested in doing. Let's find out if we have something in our portfolio to help you with your housing plans. One thing that I'm really excited about the Rural Workforce Housing Initiative is that it's state funding and it isn't income restricted, although we are trying to focus the money on people within that middle income. And that's why I was really excited to get the chance to talk to you, Main Street folks, because I think this is a good development tool for putting housing in downtown. One vision that I've shared with the staff at DCA and the Main Streets program is, possibly figuring out a way to finance the upstairs of
Uh-oh, I think your audio cut out. You
oh,
were
good.
so good. Okay, now you're good.
Oh, I'm good. Okay, all right, thanks. I'm really sorry about that, y'all. I'll figure out what's going on. So with that said, let me just go ahead and launch into this presentation. Okay, so I just want to set the context for why we're doing this. So the governor has decided to make housing development a priority. They allocated some funding from our budget. And I'm just going to read this quote to you. When they did the presentation for the financing, said, as we grow business opportunities across the state, affordable housing for our workforce will continue to be a growing need. And I want to show you what I mean by this growing need too, with some statistics. So currently right now we are short 118,000 homes in Georgia. What that means is that for every household in Georgia that should be able to have their own house, household formation where young people move out of their parents' house or not having families doubled up in housing. That's what I mean by being short that many houses. So we actually have a lot of ground to cover. And I just wanted to give you just a quick overview of why that is. I'm sure some of you have been in your own personal lives or when you're talking to people, the fact that housing has become so unaffordable, the cost to buy a home is so expensive and rents have gone up really quickly. I mean, why is that happening? And it's really a 15-year process that we're in, starting with the Great Recession in 2008, where we saw before 2008, we were keeping up to pace in Georgia with, the amount of people moving into Georgia or households forming in Georgia. The construction industry was keeping up with the demand and building enough housing for everybody. Not everywhere. We always have had some shortages in some places, but number by number, it was kind of equal. And then when the housing crash happened in 2008, construction really fell through the floor. And we've been steadily gaining ground since then, but we had a lot to cover. And then to add to that, the pandemic caused kind of a strange acceleration in this mismatch of supply and demand. We saw a lot of people moving to Georgia. We're really proud to have them. We embrace the Southern hospitality, and we're great for industry to move here. But the construction industry for housing hasn't been able to meet that demand, and then as a result, we have really high prices going up everywhere. So it's not only just a lack of housing for everybody, no matter their income, but it's also becoming extremely unaffordable. So we as a state have decided to take a more aggressive action towards addressing this need. And so we're investing some state funds in it to kind of see if we can seed some money into communities that, the marketplace isn't able to bear the cost. Inflation and interest rates have gone up. Cost of materials and supplies have gone up. We have labor shortages in the construction industry. That's something you see across all industries right now. So that's the kind of situation we're in, and that's why we're trying to address it with these funds. And we really are looking to you all to be our partners in this, because we want to provide the financing, but you all have to come to us with the projects, the political will to build housing, not just for affordable housing, but housing for everybody, and find some creative solutions to try to get as much housing as possible out to our rural areas in the state. So just really briefly, I just want to give you an overview of the actual financing and what it's for. The total amount of money we have right now is $35.7 million, and we're splitting it into two pools. There's a $25.7 million grant fund that is managed by the One Georgia Authority. We're already accepting grants. We're about to vote on making the first awards, and we have a deadline coming up soon for the next round. And that is for land development costs. So we're talking water and sewer expansions, roadways. They have to be in the public right away. But that's a great way to encourage development in your areas, because often that is a barrier to cost when developers are thinking about a project. But if we can cut down the cost of the infrastructure that goes into those houses, then that's going to save them a lot of money and make those projects more feasible. And so we really want to focus a lot of our money on the infrastructure needs and thinking about, not just for a particular development of rental housing or homeownership housing or a mix of both, but how that might be able to spur development in other areas around that particular site where we might be giving the grant. And then the other money, we want to put $10 million out in loan funds. And this is for the construction financing itself. So you as a community can apply for both the infrastructure grant and the loan funds, or just one or the other. And like I said, please ask you, if you have any questions, I'll answer them at the end, so add them to the chat. Here is a map of all the eligible communities. We have the dark green is eligible, the light green is conditional eligible. If you're in these communities, you can apply. The only communities that are not eligible for this financing are the ones in that gray area. And then I wanted to say just our maximum awards and some other requirements too. So the maximum you can apply for the grant, is 2.5 million, and the maximum you can apply for the loan is $1 million. There's no match required for infrastructure, and there is a match required for the loan. So we only want to provide up to 40% of the project cost. We really want these developers to come in with private financing to cover the remainder of the cost. And we won't do any applications that are less than $250,000. All right, so for the eligible applicants, generally speaking, it's units of general purpose local governments, the cities, counties, and consolidated governments, local, regional, and state authorities for the grant. The same applies for the construction loan, but we are asking that you're partnering with private developers and their local lenders to put this package together. And then those private developers could include nonprofit or community housing organizations if that's what you have. We do have some other requirements, which you may be familiar with other DCA financing, which is you really have to be up to date on your auditing requirements and other reporting requirements and things like that. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact us and we can let you know if there's any issues that you might need to resolve with your document requirements for the state. So eligible activities. So what we're trying to conceptualize here and what we're starting to see and what communities are bringing to the table is that you have, you've identified some land that makes a lot of sense for housing, for workforce housing, which we're defining as median income around 100% of your area median income. And we want the price point for that housing, whether it's rental housing or homeownership housing, to be affordable for people in that income range. So here again, if you need some help finding out what your median income is in your community to kind of decide like, okay, well, can we afford to build housing for this much or this much? You can contact us and we can give you your data for your community. We are setting some limitations, but we are trying to make sure this is really flexible for you. So we are not setting design standards for the kind of housing. You know, if you want to build a tiny home community, or if you want to build a row of townhouses, or if you want to build above retail, we're not setting any restrictions for that. But what we are saying is, because we did have to have some parameters for this, we want the cost of your construction for your rental housing to be between $125,000 and $290,000 for 2 or more bedroom units. And we want there to be some kind of clause in place with that rental community that it's going to be affordable for over at least 10 years. And then on the single family side, same type of parameters. The cost of construction and the sales price should be somewhere between $125,000 and $290,000. And that range is based on when we looked at the demographics around the state and we're looking at that 100% AMI or area median income, you know, that's everywhere around the state kind of falls within that framework of what would be affordable for someone spending about a third of their income on housing expenses every month is somewhere between the range of $120,000 and $290,000 for the sale price of their home. And if I wasn't clear earlier about this, while the your plan can include rental housing construction and homeownership housing, but if you're applying for the loan fund, we're just going to put that towards homeownership housing. So if you wanted the loan fund for development, that wouldn't go to rental. And the reason for that is because DCA already provides a lot of great rental construction products for you. So if you're interested in developing rental housing, we can talk to you about the low income housing tax credit and the federal grants that we have. If you don't already have, the developer coming to you with the means to be able to finance it themselves. What we don't have right now within our portfolio at DCA is financing to help home buyers. And because interest rates are so high and it's so hard for people to buy homes, we wanted to make an impact in that way. So we're just limiting the loan fund to homeownership housing. You can layer this financing with other funds, but what we're trying not to do is use this as gap financing for funds we've already awarded. So if you have a tax credit project in your community that is finding that they have gaps in financing, and trust me, everyone is finding that because costs have gone up so quickly that whatever they estimated when they applied is often not what they need now. We don't want this money to go to that. We want this to build housing that's not already in our pipeline. But if you have people who are having trouble with the gaps in their financing, come to us too, because we might be able to find solutions, as we've been trying to do with all of our awarded programs, to help them find the financing they need to finish their projects. And then finally, we need you to make sure these projects will meet the state environmental and historic preservation standards. So if you have any questions about that, particularly in downtowns where you have historic preservation concerns, we can talk you through that and see if it's going to be able to be accommodated with this program. With environmental, I will say one thing we're concerned about is making sure we're not building in floodplains or making sure we're not building in toxic sites. So if you're doing any kind of adaptive reuse of a heavy industry type of site, or if you're trying to build next to a wetland or something, let's talk about that too and see if it'll conform with our environmental standards. All right, so application procedures. So I would say the first step is to talk to your DCA regional rep. Earlier when we were getting on, I saw that Heather was here, Heather Sharp, and others. If you don't already know your regional reps, you should. Please talk to your Main Street staff and find out who that is, because that's the first step, to talk to them first. You'll fill out a very simple outline pre-application for us 2 weeks before the full application is due, and that gives us a chance to review what your project plan is and get back in touch with you to see how that's going to work and make sure you're ready to submit a full application. We'll do site visits and we'll talk you through your project, and then you'll do a full application submission. You'll get the award, and that's for the grant financing. For the loan fund, we because it's not being managed through One Georgia Authority directly, it's being managed through our office. And it can go in tandem with your grant application, but we'll accept those on a rolling basis. So if you're just interested in construction financing, you can talk to me, and we can work out how you can get that money to your project. But we've seen so far that oftentimes people are mostly looking for the grant fund through the One Georgia Authority, and then maybe tacking on the loan fund as well. And then let me move on to the next slide, because this, I think, is the most important thing, because we have a deadline coming up. So we had our first deadline July 14th, and we had 8 applications come in with the pre-app, 8 pre-apps, and then we got 5 full applications, and they will be voted on during the September One Georgia meeting. And so then the next application round will be the next quarter. It'll be due October 13th. So you're going to want to, if you're interested in this financing, please start talking to your regional rep now and get your pre-app in before the application so we can meet with you. And then those awards will be made in December. And then we'll have another application deadline in January and another one in April. We expect that because of the communication we're having around the state, that it's possible that $35 million might be allocated by that December or April award. So if you're interested in this, and I'm sorry for the short notice, please try to get your information to us as soon as possible. Even if your ideas are a little half-baked, we'd be happy to talk to you about it, because we're really just trying to make this happen and get as much housing out as possible in the state. And what we're also hoping for is if we can show some successes with this first infusion of $35.7 million, that might incentivize the state legislature to allocate more funds to this program in the future. So that's an exciting opportunity that we have too. And then finally, we want you to have a solid plan. Go ahead. My audio got okay. We want you to have a solid plan to get moving on construction as soon as possible. We really want to see some outcomes. We want to see people moving into those units within a few years. So our award timeline is between award and completion is 2 years. Now we understand that construction timelines can go a little over that, but what we're not going to do is we're not going to set up a pipe farm, like invest in the infrastructure financing for an empty lot that you don't have a solid plan for redeveloping it as soon as the infrastructure financing goes in. So keep that in mind too, that we want to see some really quick outcomes with this financing. So just to kind of summarize where I want you to be thinking about this, if this is something you're interested in, find out if you're compliant with the state reporting requirements, and you can contact me or Jenna Webb with One Georgia Authority, and our contact emails are at the end of this. Do you have a housing needs assessment? I know I'm talking to you all Main Street staff, so I know a lot of you wear a lot of hats, so maybe you're also engaged in housing development too. But if you're not and you've got a counterpart at your city office that you can talk to, find out if you have a housing needs assessment, because we do definitely want to focus this money where we know there's a documented data-driven need. And then if you need some help with housing needs assessment, you can contact me. I hope that I assume this presentation will be shared, so I'll share it after, Taz, and all these links in here are live, so you can go in and take a look at if you don't already have a housing needs assessment, how to do something very quickly using resources like just census data, or a lot of the websites like Redfin and Zillow have a lot of demographic and data and housing, vacancy rates and things like that you can use for your housing needs assessment. And hopefully your comprehensive plan also has a housing element to it. If it doesn't and you're involved in that process, I highly encourage you to think about that. And then one of the biggest resources in the state for housing is GIC, which is the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing. And hopefully you all know about that program too. But if you don't, I'd love to spend 20 minutes trying to encourage you to apply for GIC. I think it's a fantastic resource for doing community housing planning. And then, so I kind of went over the first step. So check for compliance, meet with your regional rep, fill out your initial project assessment, which is your pre-app. We'll provide technical assistance. We'll come visit your community, and then your full application is due October 14th for the next round. And then, so now we have time for questions. And because I don't know how to get to my main screen here, I'm actually going to leave this up for a second because this has the website. I'm sorry, the email addresses. So if you want to talk to Jenna, please email her at jenna.webb@dca.ga.gov, and then mine is at the bottom. Please keep in mind that my name is Samantha without an H. People usually confuse that. So please write that down. And then, Tess, did we get any questions in? I'm going to try to see if I can find the little question box on my screen here.
So I'm not currently seeing any, but
Oh, great.
let's just go ahead and open up the room for
Yeah, let's
questions.
do that.
If anybody has one, somebody ask her a question
Yeah.
so it'll look good.
Hey, Tess, before y'all get into the questions too much, and Sam, if you don't mind me jumping in, I'll put on my
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
former downtown development hat, and now I've transitioned over to housing. And if y'all, and I'm old in the world. I know many of y'all, but I don't know everybody. So I used to work in downtown development, and when I came in, it was during the 2007, 2008 crash. And so I was having the hardest time keeping my businesses open because I didn't have a comprehensive housing strategy. So, retail is a market follower. It'll always be a market follower. If you want healthy retail in your downtowns, you got to have housing so that you can have the foot traffic, so that you can have the people. And what toward the end of when I finally got the businesses to start stabilizing, is when I started engaging the housing developers to build small communities around my downtown. And then we started on the upper story loft living, trying to do some residential loft living on the second stories and third stories of our downtown. And it's still an ongoing process, right? So now more than ever, we're seeing downtown development authorities engage with our housing partners and our developers and draft, intergovernmental agreements with them, do some some tax abatements. There's just a lot of different funding mechanisms to bring affordable housing to your downtown. This is a huge opportunity because it's not federal funds, as Sam mentioned earlier. It's not federal funds; it's
Mhm.
state funding. So you're not tied to a lot of the federal requirements, the Davis Bacon, a lot of the other things. They're going to make it very complicated, and you can get a price point, which in most of rural Georgia, you could do some housing for home ownership. Uh, at a lovely price point that would work in most of the downtown areas in Georgia. But our team's here to help, bridge all those gaps, like Sam said. And I'm just Sam's partner on this. I'm just helping her out. So
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. And thanks for adding that perspective from the main streets. I really think this is a great way to bring the housing element to downtowns. And like you said, we're excited that it's state finance. Oftentimes we're working with federal regulations and then building a program based on that. This is a program that you all can help us build. What we're looking for communities to bring to the table is, look at your land use, identify spaces that you want to build housing in or you think housing is appropriate in. Find out what kind of design style you want, something that looks right for your neighborhoods, and then try to free up the zoning, permitting, any of those other things that add time to a project. And then apply for our money. We'll put in the infrastructure. If you have good development partners already in your community that you can contact to build the housing, to build a little neighborhood or a couple of areas around downtown that are appropriate for residential, that are underdeveloped. This is a great chance for us to see what y'all can bring to the table for interesting ways, creative approaches to add more housing to your areas.
All right. Thank you so much, Samantha and Tommy, for popping in. You guys, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat or I can call on you. And yeah, thank you again, Samantha. That was just wonderful. And I'm sure we will get some questions in. So we'll just stay in contact and let you know.
Yeah, that's
Go ahead. Oh, okay.
okay. Well, then, if that's okay with you all, I'm going to head out because I actually have another meeting that's double booked. So this way I can go to that meeting. Please talk to your housing people, talk to your city officials, see if they're interested in applying. Let's build some housing.
hey, hey,
Thank you so
before I
much.
jump off, Tess,
Yes.
can I get like an unofficial invite to come to the downtown conference? If I have a chance, I will pop in and see everybody because I miss you guys.
I'll pitch that one to Renee.
You do
Yeah,
not
see if
need an
Renee can get
unofficial
me in.
invite.
Don't
You
let
just
him
come.
in.
Renee, can you get me in the door?
I will be at the door with bells on waiting for you.
Oh, it's so good to see y'all.
Good to
Thank
see
y'all for everything.
Bye,
See y'all.
Tommy.
you.
Bye. Thank you
Oh,
so much, everybody.
thank you, Samantha. That was a treat.
Thanks.
um,
Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to open the floor back up again, and I know a lot of people came on late. So just wanted to check in and see if there's any good news to share from the week. Any project updates, anything exciting going on. Tanya shared her good news. Just want to hear a little bit more good news. I'll call on somebody. I will pull a Jessica and I will call on somebody.
Bethany looks like she's stinking.
I'll call on you, Bethany. Poor thing, she's muted.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Okay, I do. We are holding our very first cornhole tournament in Blackshear. We do a charcuterie board challenge in February called Battle of the Boards, and so cornhole is Battle of the Boards 2.0. So that's what's new. That's what's coming down the pipe at in Blackshear, plus Christmas
Very
parade
cool.
and all that other stuff. So, and today's my birthday. You're welcome.
Exciting. Thank you for sharing. I asked about birthdays at the beginning.
Sorry.
Happy
Well,
birthday.
happy birthday to you. And that is great news. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing.
You're welcome.
And also, I saw a great post that y'all shared on social media with all your different murals.
Oh yeah. Yeah. we just redid a new mural a couple weeks ago, and there is a local guy that goes around and takes pictures, and I had him take them, and I'm going to do postcards, like a set of postcards, because like within the past 3 weeks, so many people have come in and asked for postcards of Blackshear. And so I'm going to create some postcards with the murals, and some of our bears that we have in town. So yeah, thank you.
I love that idea. And I
Sure.
see Amy has posted in the chat where she can watch this. Amy, this is posted on our YouTube. We record each of these sessions and then post them usually a few hours later, but sometimes it's a day or two. But you can just go to our YouTube channel and I'll pop that link in the chat as well. And Jesse, don't be upset. I'm going to call on you. What is happening, Cornelia?
You don't have enough time for us today. We have a lot going on. We just put up a new sign on this retaining wall where we just did like some new sidewalk infrastructure, and it was actually supposed to be a mural, but we decided to like do fabricated metal, so it's actually a 3D sign and it's less maintenance, and it looks really really cool. I'll post it. Noah or I will post a picture on the Facebook page so you guys can see it, but that's really cool. And we just finished some gateway signage that we have a ribbon cutting next week to do, and Noah's been working on the 35th annual Big Red Apple Festival, which is coming up in September, and he has already had to cut it off. Noah, are you talking? Anyway, he already had to cut it off because we're full. There's nowhere else to put people. So that's
Oh,
great.
that's great.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing. That is good news.
sure.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank y'all for bearing with me this morning. And if y'all think of any questions that you have about the presentation today, you can email us at our Main Street at DCA email, or you can always use the Facebook group, the manager's Facebook group, and post your questions there. And yeah, other than that, I think everyone will see everyone at the conference next week.